Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chasing Psychological Safety. And we'd also like to take the time to thank you for reading us. The article you found this video in is number 100 in our series. I don't suppose you read them all. But if you haven't, you can go back. Literally just click on Chasing Psychological Safety, the series on LinkedIn, and it will give you a list of all the articles that we've written so far. So loads written. The message is the same all the time, which is start focusing on your people and realize how important psychological safety is if you want to have high-performing teams. But do read the details anyway. So today we wanted to continue on the topic of what's going to happen once the recession hits, except look closer at what work needs to look like for all of us. In particular, the difference between remote and flexible. I think we have conflated the two terms, and it is maybe time to take a step back and realize that they are not equivalent at all. In fact, I wrote this in the book, which has just been shipped to the publisher, and obviously now the work will commence, where we do a little bit of editing, or a lot of editing. But the chapter I was writing on was actually what's going to happen post-pandemic, and what's going to happen in terms of what's remote work, what's working from home, what is the hybrid model, and more importantly, does remote work, is it directly equivalent to flexible or not? And it isn't. It absolutely isn't. Where we work and the way we work are two different things. It's worth putting the time in understanding the difference between them.
Yeah.
What do you suggest we should be doing then?
I think one of the ideas that we wanted to put out there in this video was to make sure that if you're watching this as an organization, as somebody who is in a leadership role in an organization and hasn't yet started to think about what the difference is going to be. Okay, so lots of organizations have moved into what they're calling permanent remote working. And what they mean is more flexibility for everybody forever. And that's brilliant. That's, as far as we're concerned, that's music to our ears, but it needs to be done well. It needs to be done properly. So the very, very first thing any company should be doing, we know lots of companies are doing it, we know lots aren't, and we worry for those companies. You need to be spending some time thinking really hard and really differently about what that actually looks like, and what flexible working really means, how you're going to make that work best for your teams, and what the tools are that are required. So there's the working flexibly, literally, like where you can work, the hours you can work, how you communicate, and then there's the tools that you use to make that happen. And all those things need to be thought about pretty forensically to be able to create what is potentially a brilliant new world of flexible work.
So yes, an examination of all the bits is absolutely necessary. One of the things we have been advising some teams to do, and we are rolling out with some of the teams we're working with and the organizations we're working with, is a program of team relaunches, if you wish. We've talked about this before. Great believers in the fact that the Scrum team launch model is pretty much what people should be doing on a regular basis, but more so now when contracts are different, interactions are different, the way we're going to be doing things in this hybrid reality is very different. So sitting down for a couple of hours in a very concentrated effort with the team, having the right facilitation with people who have done that before, who will sit down with the team and say, right, what do we stand for? Real quick, what are we trying to make? And how do we make it best that we all feel heard, that we all feel like we have brought our best selves at the right time, whether that's 1 a.m. or during work hours. What tools do we use, like Fionn said, for that? Just recontracting every interaction from the point of view of what we say to each other, what's all right for us as a team, and what we expect to see out of each other in this new world of hybrid and flexible.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. And part of that, or something that comes out of the back end of that, for want of a better phrase, is the idea that now that you've got the teams in your organization, unfortunately, very sadly, lots of people are leaving organizations at the moment, but people are also remaining in those organizations, that we take the time to create what we call a kind of backlog for winning for those people, a to-do list that focuses and gives permission to investment in those people, and a compassionate approach to still developing those people and those teams. And investment doesn't have to mean spending thousands or millions of pounds. Investment can be part of that team relaunch to say, what do we need? What do the people in this team need individually and collectively to be successful? And what are the creative ways that we can approach that to keep this team motivated and brilliant throughout the next 6 to 12 months? And the organization is going to come out stronger as a result of doing that.
Yes, and I think one of the bigger items of thinking, if you wish, the two big parts of thinking that we need to take a bit and think of are, one, what is outcomes based? What does it mean that we look at results and we don't just look at the antiquated ways of thinking that were either time boxed or place boxed or you name it? So instead of looking at work as something we do from a certain hour to a certain hour, we need to instead find ways to break it into components that truly make a difference, that are truly tickets on a backlog, if you wish. And you can then kind of map them to various times that you do them at your best, to various people that can do them at their best. So we have got to open a conversation as to what it means. In software development and other industries, it's slightly easier to find out what outcome-based would mean. It's not horribly easy, and not everyone does it, and not everyone does it because people don't measure it, which is the second thing that I wanted to us to think of, which is, it sounds callous, but unless we find a way to measure people performance, measure work outcomes, measure when it is that we are at our best, then we are going to be incredibly on the back foot as compared to the companies that have not had a moral impediment and a crisis of consciousness around really measuring. So this rethink has to be around what's a good result and how do we measure that it is good. And obviously part of that, software like ours and project management and all the other bits that help you measure and keep track of what's good is very necessary. So it's worth spending the time to understand it. It's worth spending the time to implement the right things. And we definitely believe you should be doing those team relaunches and kind of come out of this even stronger. Thanks a lot for watching us today. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.